really, really professional. My name is Grad. I'm professor of Latin American Foreign Studies at the Center for Latin American Studies and director of the Conference Center for History. And we're really, really excited to have you here in this wonderful space this afternoon. And let me tell you a couple of things about the Grad program. The Grad Fellowship program is for current workers and grad students to carry out interdisciplinary humanities-centered research projects, creating scholarly activities focused on the U.S.-Mexico border. These fellows represent diverse disciplines, including the use of art, Spanish, Portuguese, and the Department of Teaching, Learning, and Social Development Studies. Consequently, this research spans different methodologies from cultural narratives, grassroots activities, oral testimonies, map making, and research. To experiential learning opportunities, Grad Fellows integrate dialogue, critical reflections, theoretical contextualizations, and connections of experience to broader sociocultural issues. As a result, the fellowship enhances the fellows' skills, community connections, and expertise, while further preparing for the career path. And you're going to see them shine. These folks are going to go a long ways. They're almost there. They're getting there. And then someday you're going to see, yeah, I was in Tucson, in the South Side, they were telling us, well, I was going to do that. So that's the exciting part from my perspective. This project was funded by the Office of the Provost and the Office of the Spanish Survey Institutional Initiatives. And I want to thank Professor Andrea Romero, who's here today, Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs. And this speaks to the commitment of the institution for students, right? So it's great to see you here again. That's a close I also want to express my deep gratitude to the Conference Center team. The team makes things happen. It's not large, but it's extremely effective and it's extremely savvy about how to work with communities and also with institutions. So, Jasmine Vázquez, Yadira Caballero, So thank you so much, muchas gracias. Without it, we wouldn't be here. And our fellows and our faculty members know that as well. It's very, very helpful. Gracias a Teaching Palace for hosting us in wonderful space. Many of you are the first time you're here. This is great because this is going to continue to happen. It's going to continue working in the future. And also, thanks to our amazing Long Pinon band, who came all the way from the I-25 corridor, New Mexico, and they're going to be great tonight. I'm looking forward to listen to the music and learn more about what the project is all about. So, muchas gracias por estar aquí. I also want to thank two of our faculty mentors, David Taylor, who's here, who's doing an amazing work with our students, and Anita Luisa Hernandez, who was at ASU, but it's okay, but she was also instrumental in this project. But I just want to acknowledge the work in the previous round. And right now, I want to introduce my colleague, Yadira Caballero, who is the program manager at the Conference Center, and who is going to do the land acknowledgement. Please, Yadira, welcome.
Tucson, Jose was an incident initially. look at the history, look at the path that we have been on. Most of us here know the history of settler colonialism, which has deep injustices as Native people have endured over centuries, where they have experienced the hands of federal and state governments, religious institutions, and colonizers. Native people are deeply rooted in the relationship with land. A Tao, as a Dinan person, we have an interwoven relationship with kinship. We observe how the land is interconnected with all living beings together. All is related. Everything in every place has a role and responsibility. The land is part of who we are. It is our identity from our past, where we are today, and our future. We should carry the respectfulness of the people that have been here thousands of generations and will continue for generations to come. If we can take the moment to acknowledge we are located on the native homelands of the Tohono Nation and the lands of the Hospitality tribe. They are the ones whose care and keeping of these lands allows us to be here today. It is a place in relation to the original people of the land and who continue to carry the traditions and cultures. Everything around us is alive and it has a purpose. It is a special place where we are surrounded by the plants, animals, mountains, and nearby waters, which all have meaning to the original people. We give thanks to Mother Earth, Father Sky, and honor our life to the Creator. We look after the life on the land that is given to us. As we begin to explore these possibilities of the current place, I close here to say it is imperative that we continue to be mindful of our present participation of being on these lands today and carry the reflections where you currently reside and places that we may go. I hear that. Pass it out to here.
So with that, I want to again thank you all for being here, and also welcome our two more faculty members who are here. So we're going to then introduce the fellows in here after the program. So this is Daniel Martinez. He's a sociology and director of the Binational Migration Institute and the Department of Mexican American Studies. In Calendis, who's assistant director of Center for Latin American Studies and future historian. I'm really happy to see you guys here. Thank you so much for all the work you've done with the group, with the cohort, and also keeping the project not only moving, but also intellectually sound. And I'm really appreciative of the time that we have invested in working with the group and the team. So with that, please one more, and then we'll move to the next part of it. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I think what we'd like to do is we would like to introduce each of the speakers right before they come up to speak. They'll provide about 10 minutes of remarks, and then we'll save Q&A until the very end. So we'll do all the presentations and then Q&A. I'd just like to mention that this is a wonderful experience. We've been working with the fellows for now towards the end of 2 years. It's been a very exciting project, and for me, being a social scientist, I tend to be more quantitatively oriented. I do quite a bit of that type of work. So working with folks in the humanities has been really quite a positive experience. And it's, I think social science and the humanities go hand in hand and can be very, very powerful with working together.
Yeah, I wanted to say what a pleasure it's been to work with these students. You learn as much or more from them as you give back. It's a pleasure to see them and their work, how it's evolved over the years. And we're really excited for them to be here tonight to sort of present a culmination of their fellowship and the work that they're doing. And we're really proud of them and excited for them. And it's going to be a good evening. Live music is included outdoors, so please stick around for all the presentations, the Q&A. And we'll have some food and some fun. Maybe a little bingies for everybody. So, yeah. All right, well, like we told Danny when we started, we want to get out of the way.
The food tonight is like pupuseria. It's out here. It's wonderful. So you have tickets for that as well as all of that.
All right. Well, it's my privilege, honor to introduce our first Word Lab Fellow who will be presenting on their work. Our first presenter is Maria Miranda. Maria is an MFA candidate in studio art, photography, video, and imaging emphasis. And her project is El Viento con Polvo, tal vez. Maria's aim is to work beside her community neighbors who are workers and ex-workers of the Maquilas to explore, understand, and learn about the multiple ways that they are imagining three primary concepts: community, labor, and future. So join me in welcoming Maria.
All right, guys. So one of the things that I decided for today was make a presentation where I can walk you through the different stages of my research, the different results of the research that I have been doing since the last year and a half, something like that. So I'm going to start and walk you through in a chronological order, right? What did we start to do back in Tijuana? It's my community. The name of my neighborhood where I come from is Las Cumbres, and at Las Cumbres, one of the things that I did with the help of the Confluence Center grant, grant was to build a community library in the front yard of my house. So where my mom used to have 28 years back, convenience store, one of the things that me and my brother we decided was to transform the remains of that convenience store into a library. We did that with the help of our neighbors, with the help of our friends, putting a lot of hours of work, a lot of love in that process of renovation of this space. And one of the things that we did was to fill the same shelves where my mom used to have, the fries that she used to sell, like beans and rice and sugar and all that. They were substituted now with games, with puzzles, with books that kids can come and color. We are very picky, very, very demanding, very exigentes in the quality of the books that we bring into this space. We want just the best literature, we want the best philosophy works, and we think that the engagement of our community with books can allow us to rethink the future, to rethink our bonds, our kinship. That is a word that I have been hearing throughout the day today. I think that it's not a coincidence, right? I feel that a lot of other female researchers are thinking about that concept. I feel particularly fascinated by the fact that I was invited to present this work, and the table where they assigned me to have a discussion with others was related with healing and health. And it's a side of my project that I didn't envision, but that now I also I embrace with a lot of craftness, I think. So one of the reasons of why me and my brother would decide of the many possibilities, right? Like the many possibilities of what we can do together in our community, in our house, where we have been living all of our lives. Why books? I think that books save our lives, both of us. Books, for me and my brother, were the possibility that helped us to move in a very different path than the one that, social class, gender, violence, and all those problematics that certain territories have, like books and the narratives of those books allow us to build us in a different path, to go outside of those, endings that sometimes it's very difficult to escape from them. I have been very, very lucky to have the support of professors that I had come to Tijuana to help to bring books, to bring chess, games. I will not say names there's plenty of recognition from there in my heart for life. And we also have a lot of support from our same neighbors, like that has been amazing to discover. Like, yes, like the partnership with institutions outside of our neighborhoods, a lot of it is important, but also just like the horizontal play that or bonds and ties that we have with our same neighbors is as important as the ones that we outreach outside. The shows, the demonstrations of love throughout for the project has been so wonderful. From plants, candies, roses, neighbors make with paper, just as gestures of appreciation of the project and the so another thing that we did in that library was to create a science fiction workshop that also was part of the proposals that I did for this grant. And in the science fiction workshop, we wanted to explore those three concepts: community, labor, and future. We watch movies, we make photos, we write together, we make collages. These are some of the results of the collages. And then as part of the science fiction workshop, one of the things that we decided was that we want to create a guerrilla. We want to create a group that can imagine ways to resist together. One of the things that we explored together was that our neighborhood, the threats of our neighborhood, if we think about us as community, the threats are the narco violence and is the dry out of water. We have been living for the last 3 years with a severe crisis of water. There are some times that we don't have water for 3 weeks, for 2 weeks, and it's very, very difficult to start to access to water. Like, water crisis is a complete reality, right? So what we did was to create costumes, was to create weapons, was to create these type of armatures that can help us to imagine how to resist together. But I think that the most important thing was that we did all that together, right? Like the process of making, and we did all that just using the resources that they were available for us. We went and scavenged materials, plastics, fabrics that they were donated by other neighbors. We used paper and so on and so on. So I did a movie. About the process of us creating this collective process of resistance and working in imagination. And the movie was made by all of us. I invited 2 good friends that they were my students once, and they came with cameras, and in a very natural way, just the kids start to take the cameras, and they start to take the sound recordings. So the result is a collective movie, right? It's a process that is showing like all these different cases on regards of the process. I'm not going to present the movie because it's 18 minutes, but the final, it's not final, but one of the ways that I'm displaying these all this body of work is through my MFA thesis installation that is right now on the Joseph Rose Gallery that I invite you all to come. And what you have is this speculative fiction installation where I'm taking all the learning process on the building of the library, the working with my neighbors and my brother and my friends, and then I'm taking all those conversations that we have in order to create these objects. I'm responding and I'm using materials in a very similar way that we build houses in Tijuana, that we build houses in my neighborhood, in the way that we use material, we use everything. We use everything in order to create. So this, for instance, is 108 movies, VHS tapes, right? Like just using VHS tapes. And this is just scraps of fabric that I use for other things. These are belts that a friend gave me. He gave me 400 belts because he shipped them from the Philippines. That's a movie, and that's a collage of a profane saint, a profane deity that we imagine to ask for protection. So I have two invitations for you. First, if you can, please come to see the pieces exhibition. It's just in front of the CCP, the Center for Creative Photography, in the Joseph Rose Gallery from Monday to Friday, from 10 to 5. You can see my installation, it will be amazing. And also, I'm going to present the movie on May 4th, along with other peers and students that they're also working with video as a strategy of communication as artists. And that's on May 4th at 12 p.m. at Lux Cinema. And I would love to just have conversations with you all at the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Maria, for sharing this. Great photos. And please do so looks like I already did it. The gallery and usually see if it's up for another week and a half. So catch you in person and you can interact with it. It's really cool. Our next presenter today is Jacqueline Hopkins. She's an MFA candidate in interdisciplinary arts, and she switched up her project for us a little bit today. So it's not quite the same as the program, but it's really cool. It's focused on the screen today. And she has a quote from the publication Noise, Water, Heat, and Douglas on, that all matter is sonors. They are vibrations when interacting with services, entities, medium, or other vibrations. So Jackie's project explores the morality of space and community. So how does sound shape our world and experiences? How sound has shaped the community of Arizona and Sonora, a community that has been divided by the wall and is meshed in the militarized border zone. The people of Nogales have a very unique perspective living in a border town where they simultaneously live within a system while also retaining the knowledge of being an outsider. So through video and sound, she explores how the border wall has transformed the sounds of Nogales. The earth, the hills, and the winds of Nogales carry the voices of the people high above the wall, participating in a defiant act against the physical, the systematic destruction. So the video and sound will recount this act of resistance. And I welcome Jackie up here to the project. The video for us. Hopefully we got the technology all worked out. So thank you, Jackie.
Center and staff. It's been an amazing experience these last year and a half. We're working together, learned so much from fellows and from faculty. It's been amazing. Your pleasure. My project has changed a little bit, because when I went down to Nogales, or when I first started studying the border, I was learning a lot, and I started meeting people in Nogales and learning from them. And I met these wonderful musicians and artists down there, and they helped me find a space for my art. I had an art show there, and through them I met more people, more musicians, so that's when I started thinking about sound and thinking about the musicians and what makes that world so vibrant and keeps me so earnest and what their community is so strong. They have regular open nights and they have art workshops. And so I was just really inspired by that community. And so I started partnering with an activist, Nephews. Her name is Nephews. She's an activist, a rapper, and a poet. And you will see her in this video. And you'll also So tell me about this area here.
Yeah, you can kind of start on the next okay. So this is where
Just a second. Alright, so
You can open it.
now you'll see there, but it's looks like it's showing up on the yes, it's kind of to the side. Anyone good with PCs? I'm not that person.
Click on GOC.
See, so click on this. Just so you open the PLC. And so it's opening it, and seeing it. So tell me about this area here.
yeah, you can kind of start on the next okay. So this is where everyone comes to by foot. The other crossing is not open all the time. But yeah, it's
So tell me about this area here.
yeah, you can kind of start on the next okay. So this is where everyone comes through by foot. The other crossing is it's not open all the time. But yeah, it's like the seats online or
Ahorita si no sale muy bien, hay que abrirlo y luego echarle y después lo voy a cerrar
bien, así es suficiente.
y luego lo voy a sacudir.
Ah, The sounds travel through the hills, separated by borderline. Like people, some enter, some never come back. These mountains guard experiences that will never be told. Some are secrets that everybody knows. Many are memories we act as if we don't remember, like those cheesy regional songs ingrained in our heads as we were younger. The long way to cross messes with our mental and physical health. Too long sitting makes our bodies stiff, stuck. It's best to go with plenty of time and some good tunes to play, like my grandpa used to say. That way, when it's your turn with the agent, you'll keep calm instead of exploding like a bomb. Because it is triggering for us locals when they ask where you're going and where you're coming from. Like, if this was not the same land just divided by a huge steel fence scarring the earth. And as much as they want to stop us from coming and going, it's impossible. Just like sound can only be masked, but not completely silenced.
Claro que sí, señora. Tranquilo. También me quiere hacer una pizza.
Una pizza.
Sí, quiero.
Okay. Cheese.
Sí.
Cheese pizza. Spices. La masa la vamos a pasar. Una bolita. Sometimes somebody goes through something that they like hard, sometimes it's just the time being having both story together. The little things is what really like few bases. Nuestro corazón tiene memoria, nuestra mente, nuestro ADN. Ella nació en Costa Rica, creció un poquito en Panamá y se fue a Ohio. Y eso es simplemente una señal de que para nuestros ancestros, para nuestra cultura y nuestros países no hay frontera.
In her blood, in her body, her grandparents have left an impression that has lasted here, that has brought them to.
Y eso es simplemente una señal de que para nuestros ancestros, para nuestra cultura y nuestros países no hay frontera.
This is a signal that there are no borders in our culture and our beliefs.
All right, our next Borderland Fellow is Elizabeth Gascoigne. Elizabeth is a PhD candidate in teaching, learning, and social cultural studies, and also minoring in American studies. Her focus is on immigration and borderland studies, and the title of her project is La Casa del Papel, and Rhythm, Voces, Creating Emancipatory Spaces, and the Search for Well-Being in Our Borderlands. So here, sharing a space for creative expression facilitates verbal and nonverbal expression, problematizes oppression, and provides emotional healing. These art-based activities and testimonials are also going to be explored in a collective setting, con y para la comunidad, with and for the community. So please join me in welcoming Elizabeth to the stage.
Okay, buenas tardes. When I first started this project, before I started in 2019, I was hired by a poet and a filmmaker. And we started to do poetry on both sides of Nogales, Sonora, and Mexico. That's when I realized how important creative expression is, and how important art spaces like this for the bienestar, for the well-being of migrants. I remember one time this time from Venezuela, we were having a comedian and poetry, and they said, gracias por haber chillado todo el día, but continue to cry all day. Me lo sacaron que tenía que hacerlo. They helped me to get out what I had here inside. So that's when I realized how important it was. This is when I started to work on my project on the website. That summer, I did a few, I created a few bigger spaces in different places in Sonora. Some in Altar, some in Caborca, and maybe two in Nogales, Sonora. And what I wanted to do was to create these maker spaces to bring migrantes together to build community, but not talk about les pasó, right? Not talk about the trauma, but to have them do art space activities that reflected on the beauty of pre-migration, the beauty of the migration track, the beauty of being in Orales, waiting for their second interview, and the beauty of thinking about it for the future. This is a replica that one of the masters created. And again, my goal was to have them imagine safe places, to imagine or to remember safe places, beautiful places. But then again, there were a lot I wanted to talk about, los peligros de la migración, the dangers of migration. So I'm going to talk about three of the activities that we did, and then I'll talk about what they did. So I want their voices to reflect more than mine. So this one was a method. It was a poetry and painting, and the title was "My izquierda, una inspiración para la paz." And here, let me see if I can see the lighting. This piece was created by a female from El Salvador, and she shared the following after she completed her painting. While I was painting, I felt very relaxed, comfortable, and remember when I went to school. I felt happy. This activity helped me to imagine and carry out my dreams with painting. What I imagined, I created. So here you see her imagining, mentalizing a safe space for her that she had never been to, but wanted to imagine a safe space. I imagined a very happy sunset, a moment of peace and tranquility, sitting in the sand, watching the boat float. So here you see a beautiful scene that she imagined filled with color and items, including a smiling sun that brought her peace and happiness. Again, right? Because where do they have the outlets? When you think about it, they're coming all the way in the migration track, some as far as Cameroon, and one that came from Cameroon who traveled 8 months to get to the border. Went through the Darien Gap, which is a jungle between Panama, very dangerous jungle between Canada and Panama. And out of the 16 that entered the jungle, only 2 people. And then he waited, then he traveled to the border, waited 4 months for his second interview. This was during the pandemic. Came here in detention 8 months, and detention released, and is now safe in the United States. And actually, it's a nursing story. The following one is a piece created by Neil from Mexico entitled The Ocean. He said, I felt very good creating the painting. I felt peace, tranquility, and excitement, and how my well-being from love. The painting was very enjoyable because you start thinking about what you are going through. I thought about the serenity of being near on the beach. Again, he imagined himself sitting on the beach, watching the dolphins eat and birds flying over the ocean, surrounded by the sun and palm trees. And I noticed that we discovered a lot of talent, right? This piece was created by Neil from Honduras. He shared, it felt very good to share a pleasant moment with new people and new activities. I felt happy for a moment while I was painting. I disconnected from everything, and I felt I was at home. At the time of painting, I did not think about anyone. I just felt that I disconnected from everything and entered a moment of absolute peace. This painting reflected an imagined view of the sun setting, surrounded by palm trees and birds flying over the sunlit ocean. If you look closely at this piece, focus on the scene, you will feel that you are in this imaginary place that you created. This one, La Cascada de Agua Azul, was painted by Prima Guerrero, who had never painted, she said. She said how the waterfall area was a beautiful place for her. She also mentioned that this was the first time that she had painted, and that she was very happy she discovered her talent during such a thing. She stated the following: I felt happy while painting my painting. I felt a lot of peace with transmitting freedom or a joyful landscape. The painting helped me to express my clarity. I was painting and thought about my mom, because she always wanted to be in a quiet place before passing away. Here you see again her imagined peaceful place. It's both natural environment with a waterfall, cloudy skies, and with many trees and flowers. A place where her mother loved work, a quiet place. This following activity is called Los Peligros de la Migración. And here again, my focus again was the well-being, right? Looking at the beauty, but many immigrantes wanted to talk about Los Peligros de la Migración. In this piece, the female from Mexico described this drawing. She wrote, what we experienced firsthand was that in my house they picked up my uncle and shot him into pieces. They cut off his feet, hands, ears. They made him in little pieces that will never be forgotten. By a miracle and by word of God, we are alive, and then we came because of efforts by the cartel against me and my children. And I am very grateful. And not many people needed the solution. Why doesn't the government do it? Here, drawing by Filipino from Guatemala, she drew the mountains and the desert, as you can see the background, that her and her mother traveled through, and the river she had crossed in her migration track. She shared how her feet were blistered from walking the desert. They both had been departed. She drew hotels that she stayed during her journeys. You can see the hotels on the bottom. And she drew a semi-truck. As you can see the semi-truck in the bottom left, there's a red cabin. That's where her and her mother traveled. She drew a black house at the bodega used to house migrants. And you can see the house right here, the right side, where she was taken to by the Diaz, which are human smugglers, as she drew two men, lean men with masks on the top right. This one is also called Discriminación. The first painting represents the whole community rushing to the bus station as they are being displayed for the cartel and police. These are all families of all ages running, leaving their homes, and all their belongings. They were forced to leave and could not gather any of their belongings. And here at the top, you can see the buses. So there's the whole community going towards the bottom. Buses being displaced from their community. Here this picture is a male from El Salvador. He showed that his mother had passed away back home and that she was the only one that supported his children's rights. His father and brother did not accept him. He was beaten by the Mara gang in Salvador. He showed his broken teeth and after his church he saw his wounds on his stomach. The Diaz of the smugglers took everything from him. They left him without food, water, or any belongings in the desert. He was by himself in the desert for 2 days. He then turned himself into border patrol. And here he drew himself as an animal alone. They abandoned me like an animal, like I was worthless, like trash. My life was not valued. And he wrote, this activity helped me to think about the worst moment I faced on this path, and to recognize that my life would have ended because someone did not value it, and that I was not required to be enough. And I must be careful of making a decision that can fit my life. They also help me to clear my mind and to feel happy. As you see that they bring up the videos and dangers of migration, but then again, being in community together helps their well-being. And here, the painting was created by a female from Guatemala. So on the left-hand side, she painted the bus that she, her husband, and 2 children were traveling in. They were stopped by 2 Mexican federal police. All 4 of them were taken down from the bus, stripped naked, raw, and naked. You can see the bus here in the middle, the chauffeur, the police officer, and the police officers in front of the car. So the right side of the painting represents the bodega, which again is a warehouse to house migrants, where they will have for their needs. She said it was like a prison they could not leave. She drew the area she recalled it, and in the upper left side is someone standing right here. In the middle, is a prison guard. She drew 2 people, the red dots below. In the middle, which are the 2 migrants who were killed trying to escape. She was very emotional and wanted to share this with everyone who was present. So the next activity is called Corrido de Amigo, un caso de migración. We played music, and then we read a poem, and then we had conversación at the top, convivencia, and they drew things that inspired them. So this was a yellow house, right? A yellow house. A Filipino from El Salvador created this piece. She said, at first I felt nervous because it was the first time I painted. It did help a lot. I felt many emotions, but it helped me to be able to remember my loved ones and to express my feelings. I thought of my mom because she stayed in El Salvador, and I felt sad because I hadn't seen her for 6 months. Again, look at this beautiful painting. And she said she did not have any experience, as well as the person who did this one. This painting was created by Leo from Mexico. He said the painting signifies occupies a desert and that loneliness that a migrant has to face on the way to a safe path and place, and having to meet our loved ones. I felt good with this activity. I felt happiness and that helped me to think and feel satisfied with the decisions I have to make. So next, first of all, I want to thank the Oakland Center of Latin American Studies and the Chica Foundation and Artisans Beyond Borders, but I want to share a video before. So as part of the Art Choices Studio, towards the end of my research, we started to do digital narrative, with Migrantes, and to focus on the beauty again, right? A lot of these narratives were about sending messages about empowerment, messages about faith, messages about the importance of education, messages about example, and I have those videos in case you wanted to see them. I can show you them in the future. Email me and I can share those, but this is one that I wanted to share. And this is someone from Mexico that created this piece, and she talked about faith. So what she wanted to do, she wanted to do a video to share a message to other migrantes that were coming out. Just in 30 minutes. Does anyone know what your reading is? Does anybody hear that? Oh, that's another one. It should be this one. This is really long. That one's 6 minutes. So let's just share.
Very refreshing.
Hola, mi nombre es Laura. No perdamos la fe, compañeros migrantes. Debemos ser valientes. Debemos acercarnos a Dios para tener fuerza y esperanza. De repente, en un instante, puede cambiar tu vida. Ya no es segura. Tenemos que dejarlo todo. Cuando esto sucede, es muy difícil. Tenemos que separarnos de nuestros seres queridos. Me duele mucho al no poder despedirme de mi mamá. Me duele mucho de no poder verla, no poder abrazarla, sentir su cariño. No pude darle el último abrazo. Es un dolor muy grande. En la ruta migratoria solo tenemos nuestras familias migrantes. Ellas lloran por este mismo dolor. Compartiendo este sufrimiento, juntas nos ayudan a ser más fuertes para enfrentar esta angustia. Sobre todo, estando en comunidad y con mucha fe y valor, podremos consolar nuestros corazones. Es muy difícil superar esto. Hay que no perder la fe. Dios es muy grande. Él sabrá darnos la tranquilidad que necesitamos.
wrote their script. They narrated it, they showed the music, and they also chose all the videos and the images. Thank you very much, and again.
Thank you so much, listeners, for sharing just a little bit of it was tonight. And I want to give a look for an event, just putting together some work really hard on. It's an all-day event tomorrow at Kingwood Community College. It's the Ethic Gender Transborder Studies and Sociology Summit. So it's happening in the downtown campus. They have a great keynote speaker at 9 a.m. Just give them an address like Kura. This is Alicia Faye. So if you can join. Please do. It's over at College downtown campus.
Tomorrow morning.
The organizer, and all these guys have been busy doing many different things beyond just showing us today. And so we're excited to keep watching what they're doing and seeing their future work as well. So next up, our next Borderland Fellow for today is Cesar Mendez Guerrero. Yeah, Cesar and his project Huertas, La Comunidad en el Desierto, pero Azaques y Amigos de Dios. The poetics community of the desert, free landscapes and the chaos of the eye. His project contends that not only does literature induce a sense of community, but it also is self-referential, autobiographical, writing that paves the way for the recognition of community of others with us. That is, a community of other experiences and other lives which forge our subjectivity. So, Cesar, thank you for being with us and sharing your work.
Well, I'm going to be a little counterintuitive here with my introduction. When I thought about this project, to be honest, before thinking of the content, I thought about poetics. And what I mean by I thought about poetics is I thought about what poetry can do as a space of exploration, as an exploration of language. And so I wanted to do something with that exploration of language. And I also thought about friendship. And I thought about how I wanted to do something with people that I enjoy being with and that I respect. And at the same time, I also wanted to expose myself to people who I wasn't as familiar with, but who I kind of deemed interested in wanting to explore this with me, explore this space. So basically, at the kernel of my project are three things: poetry, the I, yo, and friendship. Right? Those three things are what I wanted to see what could come out of that. So, and in particular, just the notion of how the eye, how if we elicit writing through the eye, it is possible to catch glimpses of certain tropes, of certain ideas, and certain effective geographies that come out more than deliberately, but that hint themselves through that exploration of language, which is poetry. So I want to start a little counterintuitively, thinking of and showing a certain appreciation to certain people, and then get into my project, which I have a teaser of. Okay, so first of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that this project at the core, I want to acknowledge the fact that this project at the core is a deep dive and self-inquiry into the communities that make up the I through poetry. Though coordinated writing is undoubtedly a collaborative effort that brings together friendships of old, new friendships being, and maybe just casual encounters through which language as a space called upon some of us to convene through whatever we may contribute. Stephanie Maldonado, Paloma Valencia, Jimena Laguna, Carlos Mayer, and David Aguilar, I am indebted to your generosity and creativity for sharing some of your perspective in the form and formlessness of poetry with me. Profe Jorge Manzanilla, my dear poet friend, who co-coordinated and did much more than just that for the workshops. Thank you for letting me rant on occasionally into the ether during that, into the ether during the writing and close reading sessions. Sometimes just in time to say something much clearer in writing, something much clearer in much less words. Profe Amaury Gama, your suggestions, your intellect, your charisma, and thoughtful presence made the difference throughout the interviews. Imani, thank you for the teaser and the visual diagrams to come. Victor Bermudez, y Detective Salvaje, all these words, and then you conjure up sounds, musical landscapes, or what is being said, can rest assured that it can always mean more. Maria Miranda, Yamida Tijuanense, for our conversations at Café Luce, insights, and mutual complaints. Gloria Flores for a couple of night conversations about what the hell I was trying to do with this. And of course, Nick and Romy for the simplicity. And so, thank you to the Mellon Fidelidades Foundation, the Confluence Center, and in particular to Cristian Rubalcaba, who is no longer in the center, for his quiet and steady encouragement. My gratitude for the kindness and generous ear of David Taylor, Pauline Deeds, Dan and Anita Luisa during our meetings. Also, Profe Javier Duran, I appreciate the support and mentorship throughout my time in Tucson. The Spanish Creative Writing Workshop centers around autobiographical and autofictional poems, elicited through the tropes of greed, chaos, and self-landscapes in order to offer effective accounts of the region through the lens of the intimate. The participants, U.S.-Mexico border crossers, and at some juncture, some to this very day, inevitably offer us glimpses of transnational dynamics beyond the typical tropes of horrors of being an immigrant or mere political confrontation. The provocations employed to instigate poetry is based on the need, to a certain extent, to challenge popular notions of unlimited oppression being a basis for writing interesting, border-related poetry. So, in a sense, this workshop stems from a defiance of a narrative logic that is often bent on situating immigrants as a case study in misery and marginalization. Or they try to portray border dwellers as vulnerable people that need to be given a voice. So in a sense, we wish to offer a refreshing turn, a break of sorts from other social realism that has sprung up elsewhere in Latino literature in the smattering of journals accepting Latino literary production, where all depiction is reduced to the victimizer dynamic. The workshop recruited 6 volunteers from the Sonora Desert region, all undergraduate students. For more than 6 weeks, we went through the tropes of greed, chaos, and the landscapes of the South. To prepare for the writing, we close read first-person poetry and prose in both Spanish and English. What communities of others does the enunciation of I reveal? So basically, the core of this is also what communities are revealed when we say I, when we enunciate I. Okay? An I that is beyond us. An I that really is what negotiates the contours of who we are. Okay? We talked about the others as lives, animate, inanimate, human or not, that inform us. The culmination of this workshop, still in process, and to be formally presented at a later date, is twofold. A brief publication of the poetry book, and a video where the texts are diagrammed in order to play even further with the contingency of language in the text to produce a community poem. The following is a very last-minute teaser we came up with to give you a taste of the work. Okay? The translated subtitles are only partial, in part, the result of translational mistakes. In part, a deliberate practice to not have to justify fully the use of Spanish while playing with the gaps of translation. So the following is excused.
Hola, mi nombre es Leticia Paloma Valencia, pero todos se llaman Paloma. Hola, soy Jimena Laguna. Estoy hablando sobre mi poema. Escribí el poema de Ana, que todo es difícil, pero tengo mucho cariño, que yo he trabajado mucho dentro de mi vida y en la ciudad.
Bueno, mi nombre es Gabriela. Yo nací en Arizona, pero crecí en el lugar de Somalia. A los 10 años mi familia emigró al norte. Entonces, yo siempre he estado aquí en este lugar, el que desde todos los lugares es soy una amiga de sol, me vine para estudiar en la universidad.
Estoy en el último año estudiando ciencias médicas, no sé qué cosa en doctorales, y estoy de la noche sola. Es un pueblo muy chiquito en el río Sonora, está mucho más chiquito que la universidad.
Llena de Caribe, pero lo único que podía oír era el viento. Estaba solito, la única luz que había era de la luna, pero era muy caliente. Caminé hasta que llegué a una casa que estaba muy aburrada. Probé mi suerte y libre, pero nadie contestó. Saliendo de la entrada, vi alrededor para ver si no había nada siguiéndome. Cuando me sentí seguro, caminé muy rápido para mi casa. En la esquina del camino de la morada recorrí muy rápido. Sentí que mis piernas ya no me podían acompañar y en cualquier momento iba a colapsar hasta que finalmente llegué a la entrada de mi casa. En ese momento decidí que nunca más iba a ir a correr tan mucho y sin casa.
Siempre sale uno que es aunque siempre sale a veces no sé quién ha sido o quién sea. Alguien que ve y escucha algunas cosas, todavía muchas cosas, demasiadas cosas para recordar. Alguien que cree y sabe otras cosas, alguien que recibe todo lo contrario se hace y se deshace.
El amor de mi hermana Carmen aquí no tenía todo, pero ella dentro del bien. A mi hermana, a mi mamá y a mi sola. Tal vez quise, tal vez quise, quise no, mejor quise. Casi quise lo mismo. Mi hermana se va a llamar Jiménez. Sale morada con un extraterrestre. No más, horrible, calentito, mojado y oscuro. No más, la corta por problemas. Pasa el tiempo, la corta tan dulce como chocolate, un anillo como un plato de queso. Poco a poco, cuento, colores, lágrimas, regalos, otra vez todo.
Le cabezó. ¿Y qué si bailamos la música con la torpeza de sus pasos? Recuerdo los movimientos en cada paso que nos acercan, que nos sacuden las tinieblas, vergüenza que no nos sirve de nada. ¿Esta la vamos a bailar en doble paso? Nos abrazamos al recuerdo de la conversación. Chilla como mi permiso. Mi mano izquierda tensada en su boca y la derecha entrelazada con la suya. Cachete con cachete.
Pero no tuvo una persona que me acuerdo de creo todo lo que mis padres enseñaban. Y creo que esas palabras son tan poderosas y comprendí.
46 cromosomas. No solo somos nosotros, somos nuestros papás, sus abuelos, sus bisabuelos, generación tras generación, mudanzas maravillosas, lo que hemos sido. Pero también somos más. El café a las 4 de la tarde.
Las maestras y compañeros no entendían lo que yo estaba diciendo y yo no entendía lo que ellos estaban haciendo. Cuando era tiempo de pasar revista a los alumnos, lo único que pude hacer es confirmar mi nombre con la mímica de la cabeza. El salón se sentía como si estuviera enorme, pero de repente sentía todo el frío corriendo por mi espalda.
Memoria de los álamos. Me acuerdo que debajo del sol se escondía un álamo que daba muy buena sombra. Nomás escuchaba los insectos de alrededor y una que otra persona que pasaba por ahí. A veces corría el aire entre las hojas, se movían sus colores. Me acuerdo de su aroma y su espejo de figuras frente a mi casa. A veces el álamo me cantaba y otras veces se escondía en mi ciudad.
Teníamos esos tres lobos. Y empezamos con el credo.
Y de hacer como un breakdown, como hacíamos con el credo y el paisaje y el yo, que no teníamos mucho, porque no había cómo decir o describir, y se me hace muy extraño porque al hablar no tengo problemas, pero escribir, como que calculo más las palabras que voy a utilizar al expresarme, porque ya no en el papel como que se hace más definitivo. Entonces aprendí que creo en muchas cosas, pues lo que escribí yo fue en las cosas que yo creo, y me senté y me puse a ver la vida que esa gana de ODI, y me pregunté las cosas que yo creo. Entonces me di cuenta de creo en muchas cosas que casi no se ven. Entonces nomás son cosas que yo pienso que no se pueden ver o tocar, o sentir o oír o leer, digo.
Y eso me dio una buena idea para poder aprender muchos detalles de así como me sentí.
Porque pues es como, wow, estás hablando de experiencias, si se conocieran, como si fueran amigos, no sé, es una confianza así como instantánea cuando tú quieres que se un amigos y ya te llevan a la pista, si ya estás en la pista, te sacan. Y no sé, está muy suave, la verdad. Me gusta mucho ver y de hecho mi poema de castigo. Cuando lo dije primero, pues los dos profes lo escribieron muy romántico, lo hicieron muy romántico, y yo pensé, es que me sale muy romántico, no es una persona, o sea, son muchas personas, son todos los muchachos con los que he bailado, son donde voy a dar cuenta con mis amigas, es pues toda esa experiencia.
Thank you, Cesar. So, one of our jobs, my job, Dave's job, and Council's job is to make sure that we stand. So, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to hold off on the Q&A. We're going to get right to Carlos' presentation, and then we'll move forward with food. But with that, I wanted to invite you all to reach out and connect with our fellows when maybe we start eating. Okay, so with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Carmela Scorsia Pacheco. Carmela is a PhD candidate in Spanish Border Studies, and her project is Desde Viento, Recovering Pro Mexicano Voces Voices Through Balladry. Her project responds to the urgent need to recover Mexican American women's voices during the territorial period of the Southwest borderland, a pivotal moment of transformation that continues to impact the racialized and gender hierarchies of the region. So with that, please welcome Sandra.
Thank you all for being here today. It's a pleasure to share this with you all. This is very close to my heart, very close to my home. One thing that has really inspired me to do what I do is stems from my family, right? From my grandmother, who's 95 years old, who's one of the last surviving members who speaks the traditional form of Spanish in northern New Mexico. So that really motivates me, and I'm very passionate about this work because anyone who faces language erasure knows just how valuable it is. So I'd like to thank the Confluence Center, of course. I'd like to thank the advisors who all supported us. I'd really especially like to thank the artists who are here today who are reviving some of these traditional forms of balladry from the 19th century, 1800s. They are bringing these forms back to life. So thank you all for coming. So my project is as mentioned, Desde el Vientre, Recovering Lengua Mexicana Voces through Balladry. And for this project, this is part of the project right now, right here. Right, and part of it is also the story map that I made that's for the community. I wanted it to be as accessible as possible for anyone and everyone to look at, for teachers, for students in their classrooms, as a language tool, as a cultural studies, literary studies tool. This is a local artist featuring her work here, Jade Leyva from New Mexico. So I'm going to start with this excerpt here that I wrote. Desde el vientre, from the womb. The first line of the ballad, La Invita de Juliano Ortega, reveals an intimate connection of the often submerged realities and intimacies of connection, of beginnings, and of history. Many of these histories learned in the public school settings often neglect those that are narrated by those who inhabit or inhabited the area. By recovering folk forms such as balladry, we are not only challenging U.S. official history through these narratives, we are allowing them to breathe new life while we revisit our histories, desde el vientre, from the womb. So, in essence, this is an archival and community-based research project. And so what do I mean by the archive? I really questioned, what is the archive? Where is the archive? And it's not only the institution, but it's the community, right? It's a living and breathing organism that continues to evolve. And that's part of this rich archival resource we have here with the artists. So the forms of balladry I study are known as inditas and corridos. The indita is one of the characteristics of it is that it is in the first person, and so we have the explicit yo or I in the narrative, and in this way it is agency to the narrative voice, and in many cases these ballads are from the woman's perspective. Some of the experiences that they narrate, that are narrated through their narrative voice, include abusive marriage, child captivity, execution by hanging, and fighting for the right to vote in New Mexico. So I'm not going to be able to go through all of this story map, but it's there, it's made available publicly, so whenever you would like, you are all welcome to take a deeper dive in this. And I have a picture here of of Mexico before the Tratado de Guadalupe to show another perspective of just how much has influenced our culture and our language at that time. And so, and I explain a little bit more here, and part of that has to do with the cultural expressions. So through this cultural expression, oral tradition in the form of balladry was and continues to be a means of making sense of one's world, of coping, of creating solidarity amongst others in the community, and in the case of the corrido, as a means to spread the news, what I call a form of social media. This is a map of where the ballads are contextualized, where they are from in New Mexico. So we have northern New Mexico, Taos, Las Vegas, and Algodones. And these are the ballads that I studied. La Indita de Juliana Ortega, about a young girl who was forced into child marriage at the age of 10. La Finada de Paula Angel, who was the only woman ever legally executed in New Mexico in 1861. El Corrido de la Votación, about the fight for women's suffrage in New Mexico. So what I'd like us to do, we're going to listen to some of the versions of these ballads, and then we are going to feature Don Piñón and Lara Manzanares to as they have their own rendition of this ballad. So continually this archive evolves, this archive of music and of humanizing the women in these ballads. So I have a few questions here before we listen to it. What role does the community play in keeping these ballads alive? How does balladry influence collective memory? And how does it work to humanize the protagonists? I'm not going to go over this one right now. We're going to feature two other ones, but they're here for you in the future. So this one is La Indita de Juliana Ortega, performed by Brenda Romero and Enrique La Madrid, with the musical Tonada by David Garcia. And so I highly recommend you listen to it at some point. So we're going to go to this one, La Finada de Paula Angel, one of the most well-known inditas of New Mexico. La Finada de Paula Angel recounts the tragic tale of a young woman, Paula Angel, who was charged with first-degree murder and sentenced to death by hanging in 1861 near Las Vegas, New Mexico. Composed by her cousin, Juan Angel, La Finada de Paula Angel spread intergenerationally and continues to this day. So there's a little synopsis. I just really need some water. Sorry, but there's a little synopsis here about it. And it's so fascinating to me to really look at how language is being used in these forms of poetry. It's highly poetic in that every other line rhymes, and so the question, what is the importance of this form, of this rhyme scheme? So at the time it was really helpful and continues to be a form of memorization, as a form of also being able to improvise, as a form of spreading the news, as I was mentioning. So here we go. There's just a few elements here that I want to touch on. For example, let's see, here it is. The term desgraciada, that one is used often as this is in the first person, right? So the woman is narrating her account through her narrative voice. And yet it's composed by a male composer, so it's under this male gaze, right? And so we have this use of desgraciada, and there's so many implications of that, along with the other one, huerfanita. And so if we think of huerfanita, we can think of not only someone who doesn't have parents, but as someone who is deprived of something even greater. And in this case, at the time of the territorial period, so many rights changed that affected women at the time, including the right to own property, including the right to vote, including quite a few changes that affected women. And so another thing that this woman was deprived of was a system where she was tried by, where she could have been tried by a jury of her peers, which were with fellow women, which didn't happen until much later in the 20th century, where women were able to serve on juries. And another thing is, I mentioned the use of language here is doesn't conform to the standard language ideology, right? And it's such a rich resource that we have, that we can peer into in terms of when you're facing language erasure, right? So there's that. Now, what I'd like us to do is listen to this ballad just for a little bit. And as you listen to the ballad, think about what are the principal images that stand out to you? What are some of the emotions that you come across just by listening, whether or not you're understanding the language or not? What emotions are coming through just based on the sound? So here it is. We'll just do a minute of it.
En el río de Sapeo comenzó la suerte mía, en el río de Sapeo comenzó la suerte mía. El maldito me insistió a hacer tan grande avería, el maldito me insistió a hacer tan grande avería. A Las Vegas me llevaron, dice el alguacil mayor, que a Las Vegas me llevaron, dice el alguacil mayor. El cura me aconsejó, por el ejemplo miraron, el cura me aconsejó, por el ejemplo miraron. A muerte me sentenciaron porque maté a Miguelito, a muerte me sentenciaron porque maté a Miguelito. Madre mía, ¿pa' qué?
So the story goes that she met with her lover at the time, and being that he was unfaithful, she was upset and she killed him. And so she was tried, convicted of first-degree murder, and this ballad narrates somewhat of the experience, and she really laments her actions repeatedly. And this lament can also be seen as something even greater for not only lamenting the actions that she did, but for being a woman of her time, as the way that I see it. This principal image is known to balladry scholars as the emotional core, right? So were there any images that came up just by listening to that? And also, what we're going to do now, which we have the pleasure of listening to, is listening to it from the artists themselves and seeing, what differences do you note in terms of what types of emotions are coming across, what types of other images are coming across. So before they get started, we're just going to listen to one other corrido about the right to vote in New Mexico. And this was performed by Irina Cordova de Medina in the Taos area. We'll just listen to a little bit, and then we'll hear their rendition and compare some of these emotional and principal images that come up for us. Here it is.
Años de 1844 al entrar, se concede a las mujeres el derecho de votar. El gobierno americano, por tener sabiduría, les concede
Ya se juntan las mujeres, se ponen a platicar. Comadrita de mi vida, de lesión se va a probar. Ya se juntan las mujeres, hacen un club de señoras. Cambian sus candidatas también para gobernadora. Ya.
The lyrics here really speak to changing gender roles or playing around and satirizing the gender roles at the time. Some of the lyrics speak to el marido está gobernando la cocina mientras que la mujer está like manejando los trenes. And so it really plays around with that. And this was, the suffrage in New Mexico was approved in 1920. So we can imagine taking ourselves back 100 years and what that meant for women and to publicly display this, right? And share it amongst the community was somewhat radical, I think. And I want to recognize, in talking about the archive, some of the archivists here that have helped in fundamental in recovering some of these forms. And we can only imagine how much more there are in the actual archives themselves that we can still work to bring to light. So there's a lot of potential, I believe, and that's all the members that were into recovering el corrido de la votación. And now we have Lon Piñon, who is reviving some of these traditions from years gone by in the language that is just, to me, is a treasure, and to our community. So, let's see, and of course, Grad Manzanares, who is the female singer, la voz no dominicana in this performative case, and through her embodiment of this, we are able to, she probably is able to relive through this, and us as an audience are witnesses to that. So we are participants as well. So thank you, and they're going to play now these two ballads. So please, think about how you feel. Listen to both of them. So thank you.
Venidos los tiempos, oye, traigo a alegrar. Se concede a las mujeres el derecho de votar. Gobierno americano, orden y sabiduría, les concede a las mujeres derecho a ciudadanía. Ya se juntan las mujeres, se todos los que están casados, y ahora que se quejan, algo que yo no debo aceptar. Día de las elecciones, todos los hombres se unieron, se le votan las mujeres que llamaban la atención. Ya quieren manejar los trenes y también las oficinas. Y que se quede el marido gobernando la cocina. Que se quede el marido gobernando la cocina. El gobierno del Estado trabaja una nueva ley de quedarse gobernado cada hombre por su mujer. De quedarse gobernado hay que por su mujer. Vecinas, sus vecinas, secretarias, puede paz, también sus candidatas y sus vidas para ganar. Vecinas, sus vecinas, secretarias, puede paz, presidenta, ingeniera y sus vidas para ganar. Los machos que no se animen, tengamos grande nuestro estorbar. Y vamos todas a la lucha, no hay tiempo que esperar. Ya vamos todas a la lucha, no hay tiempo que esperar.
Muchas gracias. Ahora vamos a tocar la afinada de Paula, la afinada pública.
En el río desapego comenzó la suerte mía. En el río desapego comenzó la suerte mía. El maldito me insistió a hacer tan grande avería. El maldito me insistió a hacer tan grande avería. A Las Vegas me llevaron, dice el alguacil mayor, que a Las Vegas me llevaron, dice el alguacil mayor. El cura me aconsejó, por el ejemplo miraron, el cura me aconsejó, por el ejemplo miraron. A muerte me sentenciaron porque maté a Miguelito. A muerte me sentenciaron porque maté a Miguelito. Madre mía, ¿para qué tuviste una hija tan desgraciada? Madre mía, ¿para qué tuviste una hija tan desgraciada? Madre mía de los colores, eres pura e infinita, quien hay en mis labores como piadosa y bendita.
We now would like to invite you to converse. There's food outside to place an order, followed by performance by Roquinho and Lara Manzanares, where they're going to guide us in a musical soundscape of northern New Mexico, and we may learn a few steps from them. And I would like to also recognize the artists here as well. Maria Johnson, her work is featured right here. Amazing of the natural environment in which we live in, local artists here. Maria, thank you. And Mel Gutierrez work on the other side, who's also a local artist. So thank you, and we'll be happy to join in with the music when you're ready.